Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's DAF Hayomi KIDDUSHIN DAF Yud. We got up to the Gemara, which is 9 lines from the top, at the 2 dots. So the Bnei Yeshiva asked the following question. Now, we already know that you can be Mekadesh and Isha with either Kesef, giving her money, Shtar, handing over a document which contains those specific words, Hariyat Mekodesh Li, or Bia, via physical interaction as a married couple. The Bnei Yeshiva posed the following question regarding Kiddushin through Bia. When does it happen? Tchilas Bia Koina. Is it the initial phase of the initial contact between the man and the woman which makes the kinyan? Oisoif Bia Koina, or do you need a complete physical interaction in order for that to make the Kiddushin happen? Nafkamina, what would be the difference between this or that? Meaning, what's the difference whether it's the initial or the completion? Nafkamina kigoin sheheraba. Okay, suppose he made initial contact, but right then and there, she accepted Kiddushin from another fellow. Upashta yada. Right? She extended her hand. V'kibu Kiddushin mi'achar, and accepted Kiddushin from another fellow. So if the initial contact by that first person makes Kiddushin, so it's done. She's already his wife. She's no longer available for that second Kiddushin. It doesn't work. Or if we say Soif Bia Koina, that Reuven, the first fellow, was not yet Koina de Isha at that initial point, then in fact the second Kiddushin that happened right then and there is in fact valid. Inami, another difference would be the Kohen Gadol. We know that a Kohen Gadol can only marry a Besula who never had physical interaction with a man. So he's going ahead and trying to be Mekadesh and Isha using the Bia method. Can he? May he? Or may he not? Is he allowed to or not? Inami the Kohen Gadol kani Besula. Bia, mai, is he allowed to or not? Now, if the kinyan happens right away with that initial stage, then it's okay for a Kohen Gadol to proceed with that type of Kiddushin because she's still a Besula at that point. But if we shall say that the Kiddushin only occurs later on, when she's no longer a Besula, because that status was already eliminated at the initial point of contact, so now the Kohen Gadol can't do that because he may not be Mekadesh, an Isha who is a non-Besula. And once he gets to the point where the Kiddushin gets activated, the culmination of that physical interaction, she's no longer a Besula. Okay, so that's the question. Bia is Koina, is Mekadesh. At what phase? Initial or more advanced? Mai. Amar Meimam Shmei de Rava, certainly it's the conclusion. Kala Boyel, Date al Gmar Bia, when a person interacts with the Isha, the focus is on the Gemar Bia, on the completion, and that makes the Kiddushin not Tchilas Bia. Iboilu, here comes the next question on the same topic. We say that you can be Mekadesh and Isha with Bia. What if he decides to use that experience for Nesuin? 2 for the price of 1. I want to be Mekadesh and marry. I want to accomplish both phases with one Masa. Typically you have Kesef followed by Chuppah, right? First you engage and you marry. But perhaps Bia creates a stronger connection and has the ability to accomplish Nesuin right then and there with one Masa. 2 for the price of 1. Kiddushin and Nesuin as one. Iboilu, Bia Nesuin Oise. Can Bia accomplish Nesuin? Can it complete and conclude the process? Or no? Just like, Kesef and Shtar can only make Kiddushin, can only engage the Isha. Likewise, Bia. Nafkamina, what would be the difference between this or that? Whether it can only make Kiddushin or Nesuin? Well, big nafkamina, liyarsha. A husband will only inherit his wife's assets, not his fiance's assets. She has to be a Nesua. Suppose he's a Kohen, she passes away, she's married to him, then he could become tummy to her, to tend to her burial. If he's a married husband, then he can annul her vows. So, if this bia can actually make Nesuin, well, yeah, Yersha or Metamela, Mefer Dareh. But V'amris Erusin Oisa, if you tell me that Bio can only do Erusin, which is phase 1 of that relationship, Eino Yersha, Ve'eino Metamela, Ve'eino Mefer Dareh. So which way is it? My Amra Abaye, I'll prove to you from my Bryce, Toshma. We have a Mishnah actually. A Mishnah Ksubis. Toshma, of Zakai Bebitoy. So a father administers his underage daughter's affairs. Zaka bebita, he can handle her kiddushin, right? B'kiddusha, b'kesef, b'shtar b'bia. Right? So he can be makabel the kesef. B'shtar means makabel shtar b'bia. Administer that as well. B'zaka b'mtziyasa. A father gets his daughter's findings. She finds something in the street, goes to the father, masiyodea, keeps her income. Or first nedarea, he can nullify her nedarim. Umakabel is gita. If it's time for divorce, he's makabel or get as well. But one thing he doesn't get, in contrast to a husband, a married husband who gets pay raise. Suppose she inherits something from her mother's side, right? She has property. If she's a married woman, husband gets the produce. He gets the income from that property. But father doesn't have that ability. It's something specific given to the husband. He doesn't take the pears during her lifetime. But this is all because she's still under her father's domain, in her father's jurisdiction, because remember, she's just engaged, not yet married. But once she marries, she shifts over to her husband's domain, niseis, right? So at this point, Yosser Olav Abal, husband, has an advantage over the father. As we explained, Sho'ichel Peres Bechayeh, he gets the pears off her property. Katani Bia. So the Mishnah began with a daughter who got engaged through either kesef or shtar or bia. And then the Brisa continues to the next phase. She got married. Buktani nises. What does that tell you about bia? Apparently, you can't make nesuin. It only makes erus. Well, kiktani nises. Yeah, the Mishnah speaks about marriage, which follows engagement. Ashara. It's not referring to bia, which perhaps can actually make nesuin. Going back on the other forms of acquisition, kesef and shtar, which are limited and can only make erusin. After which you need the next phase, which is nesuin. Amarav Tashma. I'm going to try to prove the point one way or the other from a different Mishnah in Maseches Nida. Bas Shalosh Yebechad. You have a bas who's 3 years and a day old, which makes her eligible for the bia procedure. Miskadesh bia. So in fact, Kiddushin Bia applies to her. Yavam Kana, if she's in a state of a Yavama, so the brother can do Yivam to her. If she's a married woman, a stranger interacts with her, he's liable because she's a married woman. And when she is in a state of being a Nida, anybody interacts with her physically as a married couple, her tumah sort of transfers to him to a certain extent. L'tamei mishkav tachton ke'elyon. So, if a person just touches her, he becomes a rishain l'tumah, which is a much lower level type of tumah. But if he interacts with her physically as married, then her tumah sort of jumps over to him, extends over to him, and he becomes sort of his own source of tumah. L'tamei mishkav tachton ke'elyon. That suppose he's lying on 10 mattresses, the bottom mattress, which she isn't even directly touching, but it's serving him, it's supporting him, that becomes tummy. Ke'elyon means it has a similar tumah like elyoinei shel zav, something sitting over the a zav, something which the zav, a person who had a mission, who was tummy, is carrying something. That thing becomes tummy, rishain l'tumah. So likewise, something beneath this fellow gets that tumah as well. And the point is that it's a bit different than her tumah. Her mattress becomes very tummy, becomes an avha tumah, a source of tumah. But this fellow's, accessories get tummy, but not to the same extent. But again, this is all because this Isha is already 3 years and a day old, in which case the concept of Bia is applicable. Suppose she marries a Kayin, fully married, she had a chuppah and everything, she can share his truma. And Rashi explains, but if she's underage, below 3, then the chuppah does not accomplish that because she's not Bia enabled. If relatives interacts with her at this point, mumsin al yada. Speaking on a regular bas, not married, but this is a relative, so that's an averus, so they are liable to misa because of this interaction with her. But she's exempt because she's underage. Suppose a fellow who's labeled as a puzzle, for instance, a mamzer, a guy, etc., interacts with her, puzzle menakuna makes her ineligible for marrying a kohen. Okay, so that's the Mishnah. What do we want to take out of this Mishnah? The Mishnah begins, Katani discusses Bia. Right? That she could become Bekudash, somebody can engage her with Bia. And then the Mishnah proceeds to the next step, Vikatani Nisis. Then she married. She marries a kohen, she can have his truma. What does that tell you about the capacity of Bia? Apparently you cannot create Nisuin. You need Nisuin that follows Bia. No, Achik Amar, the Brisa meant, the Mishnah meant, Ihani Nisuin the koheninu, Echalatz B'truma. Perhaps Bia can make Nisuin. And if it so happens to be that the kohen did it with her and had that in mind for Nisuin, she's fully married and she can have his truma. So there really isn't, we don't have really clarity on this question. The Mishnah could be learned both ways. Toshma, here comes another raya to clarify our suffix regarding the power of Bia. Is it limited to making Erusin, Kiddushin, or can it even be used? Can it even be employed for Nisuin? Toshma. Listen to this brisa. Ukvar Shalach. It so happens that there was a message sent between Yechanan ben Bagbag, to whom Eitzel Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, he sent it to where he lived, Linetziven. Shemati Alecha. I hear about you, Shata Omer. You have an interesting position. Says Yechanan ben Bagbag to Rabbi Yehuda Kessler. You claim that Arusa Bas Yisrael Achelas B'Truma. That Minat Torah. Even a woman from a Yisrael family who's merely engaged to a kohen, she can already share his truma? That's a chiddush. Before marriage? Shalach lei. So he responded, you don't agree? Va'ata i'ata omer kain? You don't agree with me? How could that be? Muchsakani b'cha. My impression of you is that you're an expert in Torah. Shata baki, you're well versed b'chadri Torah in all realms of Torah, lidrash b'chavachomer. And I was sure that you were familiar with the Kal V'chomer, right? Meaning, just as I came up with the Kal V'chomer, you should have came up with the Kal V'chomer too, to prove the same point, to come to the same conclusion. Why don't you, follow this Kal V'chomer, which will lead you to the same conclusion as I did? Umash Shivcha Knanis. Look, a non-Jewish maidservant, right? The only way to acquire her is through payment. Suppose a kohen bought this shivcha. Theoretically, a bia interaction with her, physical interaction as married, does not do anything. You can't acquire a shivcha in that manner. And even if we did it for the sake of kiddushin, that certainly doesn't work. Rashi explains you can make kiddushin on a shivcha, on a guy. So bia is out. Right? So if the kohen tries to acquire her in that manner and feed her truma, nothing doing. But still, kaspa machilasa betruma. If he acquires her with kesef, it works, and it can feed her truma. So bia doesn't, but kesef does. Certainly, an ordinary isha to an ordinary man, Yisraelis to a Yisrael, a Yisraelis to a kohen. Zu shabi asa machilasa betruma. If the kohen interacts with her through bia, she's considered a married woman. There you go. That's pretty clear. that, yeah, Bia on its own can make Nisuin. Okay, let's just proceed and we'll get back to it in a minute. Zusha Biyasa Machalasa Betruma, an ordinary Isha, where Bia can accomplish Achila Betruma, can make her totally his. To deem her a married woman regarding sharing his Truma, doesn't it lend to reason? Wouldn't you conclude that Shakaspa Machalasa Betruma certainly? Giving her a coin, giving her a ring, would do the same thing. Again, by Shivcha, Bia doesn't work, Kesef does. By an ordinary Isha, Bia works, certainly Kesef works. So, Minat Torah, a kohen is mekadesh an isha. You can feed her truma. Aval ma'asa. You know what? I'll be honest with you. This is only Minat Torah. I agree. I put my hands up. The Chachamim certainly blocked it. They don't allow it for their own concerns. Sharei Amru Chacham tell us Ein Arusa Bas Yisrael Eicheletz Betruma, that a Bas Yisrael who is merely engaged to a kohen cannot share his truma until she actually has chuppah and he's fully married with her. And the reason is because, we're going to see later, perhaps, he'll have second thoughts. If he's merely engaged to her, perhaps he'll break it up, and it turns out that she had her truma when she wasn't really engaged to a kohen, because he's going to break it up. And okay, so we'll see that in a minute. But Minat Torah, of course, she's eligible. She's qualified for his truma. End of discussion. Let's delve into this back and forth. Hey Chidami. Now, we're sort of learning the ability of Kesef to give her truma from the fact that Bia can do the same. Now, why are we so sure that Bia can feed can be the catalyst to feed the Bas Yisrael, her husband, the Kain's truma? Why would you think so? Why is it so clear to you? Are we comparing apples with apples? We're saying, look, just like Bia accompanied by chuppah, Rashi learns the chuppah came first and then the Bia. Other Rishonim learn differently. Bottom line is, there was two things there. There was Bia and chuppah, and now she can have truma. The kesef shadei chuppah, and likewise, if there was kesef and chuppah, now she's a fully married woman. You're suggesting that we should learn from Bia that just like there, she can have his truma here as well. Well, Tarvaya Mechel Achel, there's no need to learn from the other. She's a married woman. In either case, it's universally accepted that she can have her truma. She's a fully married woman. Why are we questioning it? Why are we sort of backing off? Well, the Chachamim don't allow it. Fully married woman to a kohen, of course she can have his truma. So that can't be the scenario. That can't be the topic of discussion. A married woman, of course she's in. Oh. So apparently, Rabbi Yehuda Kessler was presenting such an equation as follows. Starting point was Bia Sha'idei Chuppah. Right? There was Chuppah with Bia, she's fully married, in which case she can have his truma. And from there, he wanted to learn. Based on that, he wanted to conclude regarding the kesef, shalei chuppah, that even kesef without chuppah can work. That's not a fair equation. That's two and that's one. Hachat tarti. You're comparing chuppah with bia, which makes her a married woman, v'chachada to the other woman holding at kesef. It's 2 against 1. That's not a fair equation. Why would you assume that kesef can do the same as chuppah and bia? Elav b'bia shalayadei chuppah, v'kesef shalayadei chuppah. Apparently, it's 1 against 1. We're saying just like bia without chuppah can make truma, kesef without chuppah can also make truma. So the question is, how do you know that bia can bring about truma? That's the catch. So apparently, we're working with the assumption that chuppah has bia has the ability to conclude the whole process. Bia on its own creates that connection, makes her a nesua. So it's good, all good and well if we'll assume that that bia can make nesua. And therefore, it was clear to him that in fact, bia can bring her to truma, and Kesef were not so sure, and that had to be learned from Bia. It's all based on the notion that Bia is a given, that Bia can make Nesuin. Elei Amras Kiddushin Oisa. But if all Bia can do is Kiddushin, which is phase 1 of that process, then why is it so clear to him? Why was he sure that Bia can do more than Kesef? Who says? Why is it that by Bia it's clear to him that it can bring her to Truma, whereas by Kesef he wasn't sure? So doesn't that prove our point? That Bia, in fact, can make Nisuin. Amar of Nachman bar Yitzchak, no, Lo'elam Emelach b'Bia shal yidei chuppah, v'Kesef shal yidei chuppah. The equation, the formula presented was as follows. Starting point was like this. Bia in conjunction with chuppah can bring her to Truma, and that will serve as the basis to go ahead and teach us that Kesef on its own, without chuppah, can likewise bring to Truma. Well, how's that a fair equation? How's that a fair matchup? Uduka Amras, regarding your question, here it's 2, here it's 1. How can you match them up? But Kal V'Chaim can still work, despite the fact that it's a bit lopsided. And this is what he responded. You know, by a shivcha bia is inapplicable, right? Not relevant. Afilu aydei chuppah, even if it's in conjunction with chuppah. You do bia, then chuppah, whatever, it doesn't work. It's not a kinyan which is applicable to a shivcha knanis. It can't bring her to eat her master's truma, right? Still, money does the trick, right? If a purchaser purchases her using money, it works. Kaspa machilasa. It brings her into his domain, and she can share his truma. But even though there's no chuppah, right? So 2 things: bia and chuppah together doesn't do the trick. Kesef on its own does the trick. Certainly, of course, an ordinary wife to her husband, the kohen, zu shabiyasa machilasa b'truma adei chuppah. If it was bia with chuppah, in which case she's fully married, she can have his truma. Then of course, shekaspa machalasa betruma b'lei chuppah, that money alone can do the trick and bring her into his domain to a certain extent that she can have his truma. So based on this Kal V'Chaimer, taking into consideration all the various elements needed, right? It's 2 against, it doesn't matter, but the fact is we have a proper Kal V'Chaimer based on the circumstance by the shivcha, which leads us to this conclusion that B'Mekadesh and Isha via Kesef alone can accomplish achila b'truma. Aval ma'asa, that's minat Torah. But what should I do? The Chacham don't allow it. They have their concerns. Right? An engaged woman does not have her husband's truma until chuppah, and she's fully married. Why? Mishum de'ula, because of Ula's concern. We'll see that a bit later, which is that we're concerned that perhaps she'll share the Rashi brings it. She'll share the truma food that she gets back at home from her husband, and she's still at her parents, right? So she might share it with her family, with her siblings. So we're concerned, and they can't eat truma, so we're concerned about that. We don't allow her to have her truma until she's married. But bottom line is, nobody's suggesting that that bia can necessarily accomplish nisuin. We're not saying that. Initially, we figured that's where he was coming from. That it's a given that bia can deem her a fully married woman, and that must be based on the notion that bia can make nisuin. But now we come out a bit differently. That his starting point was bia with chuppah, and that was the basis for his Kal V'Chaimer to generate this conclusion that Kesef can in fact make kiddushin, which will allow her to have truma. But we're not speaking about bia independent of anything else, and therefore we have no right to our discussion regarding the power of bia. Is it going to make kiddushin or nisuin? It's not really relevant to this brisa. But we do have a machlekes between Ben Bagbag, who seem to hold that an arusa bas Yisrael will not have truma from a kohen, whereas Rabbi Yehuda ben Seira contended differently. He held that minat Torah, true midrabbar or not, but minat Torah, even an isha who is merely mikudeshes to a kohen can have his truma. And the question is, what's the machlekes about? Hasn't he proved this point properly? Rabbi Yehuda Kessler said he had a kavachomer based on shchiva knanis. Shchiva knanis kesef can work, can allow it to have the kohen's truma, whereas by an ordinary isha it shouldn't. Of course it should. Uben bagbag, he responds by saying no. There's a distinction between the two. You can't compare. A shchiva knanis, where the kinyan kesef enables her to have her master truma, as opposed to an ordinary isha's kinyan kesef, which will not. You know why? You see, by shifcha knanis, that's all there is. You buy her and it's over. She's yours. She's a maidservant. Kinyan kesef does the trick. Gabe shifcha knanis lo yishir b'kinyana. When you do kinyan kesef, it's over. She's totally his. There's nothing left to do. So of course, she's right in there and she has his truma. Hacha, as opposed to kinyan kesef by an ordinary wife, that's only phase one. Doesn't really conclude the process until she's fully married. Hacha shir, he left something over b'kinyana regarding the process of acquiring her acquisition. So basically, you can't compare. It's apples to oranges. Sure, in both cases it's kesef, but it's a totally different context. You can't compare. And therefore, I hold that being mekadesh and isha with kesef does not enable her to achilas truma from her husband, the kohen. Even not Torah, it doesn't allow it. So according to this approach, there's machlekes between these two shittos, Ben Bagbag and Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, whether an arusa bas Yisrael can have her husband's truma. With the Rabbanan, certainly she can't, but not Torah, that's the question. Ravina Amar Midairaisa Mishab Shtele Achla. No. We're not even talking about necessarily an Isha Nesua, meaning everybody agrees that Minat Torah, even an arusa, an engaged woman, can have his truma. Whether it's bia, whether it's kesef, whether it's shtar. Mivshar pshita le'da'achla. U'mederabanan hu d'shalach le. The whole back and forth was only in the context of the way the Rabbanan dealt with it. And, when he sent for him, when he sent him that question, it was as follows. I agree that minhat Torah, whether it's a kesef, whether it's shtar, whether it's bia, she's mukadeshes, to a kohen, she can have his truma. But you're taking it a step further. You're even allowing her, in actuality, to have the truma. You're not concerned about the rabbinic concerns that I'm concerned about. And his message to him was as follows. Shamati alech, I heard about you. Sha'ato imer. Arusa bas Yisrael lecheles b'truma? You allowing a Isha Mekudeshes to have her husband, the Kohen's truma? V'lo yichayshes l'simpoin? Simpoin means something which can nullify the transaction. In this case, it means you engage in Isha, but you might discover a mum, a blemish, something, severely deficient, which will present basis for nullifying that relationship. To be mevatel the kiddushin, to nullify it retroactively. Oh, I didn't expect this. Boom. And all the truma that she ate, with the understanding, with the assumption that she was married to a kohen, was for naught. Was a mistake. Was inappropriate. That's a real concern that it might happen. So until she's married, in which case he's totally checked her out, she's totally confirmed, in which case, until then, don't give her truma. So that was whose question? Ben Bagbag to Rabbi Yehuda Kessler. How can you allow her truma at this early stage? Shalach le, he responded to him, no. Va'ati ataymer kain. Well, you don't agree with this. B'chsakani b'cha, right? Shataboki b'chadrei Torah, l'juv b'kavachomer. I'm confident in your abilities to present a kavachomer, to delve into the intricacies of this halacha, and surely you should be concluding just like I did, that based on this kavachomer, she's enabled to truma at this early stage. Iyatu yedea. What about the following kavachomer? Umashevcha knanis. When you acquire a maidservant, right? She'ein bi'asa machalasa b'truma. Bia with her does nothing, right? Kaspa machalasa b'truma. But buying her, purchasing her with kesef, gives her that truma. Uloi chashin l'simpa, I'm not concerned about this simple concern that he might nullify the process. She's his, that's it. Certainly an ordinary wife, Zu should be asmach betruma. Everybody agrees that once you get to the point of bia, meaning once he actually marries her, nesuin, he's fully checked her out. There's no concern that he's going to go back on that kinyan, and therefore she can have her truma. In a din, of course, a kaspa machlasa betruma, that through kiddushin kesef we accomplish the same. She can have the truma v'nechash l'simpu. We're not concerned about simpun. So basically, he's disregarding the simpun concern based on this kavachaymer. So everybody agrees that menat Torah an arusa can have truma. The question was just regarding a chashash d'rabbanan. Ben Bagbag was concerned about simpun, something which Rabbi Yehuda was not concerned with. Aval ma'asa, but even I agree that she shouldn't. In actuality, she can't have truma for a different reason. Sharei Amr Chachamim Arusa Bas Yisrael Eino Chelas B'Truma Asher Techanas L'Chuppah until Chuppah, and she's with him at home. Mishum de Ula, because of a totally different reason. Like we said before, Ula was the point of sharing the food with her siblings. I'm not concerned about, him discovering some sort of mum which will lead to nullifying the engagement, but I am concerned about her sharing with her relatives. So that's the essence of the machlekes. Menat she can have truma. Any engaged isha can have truma. Midrabanan she cannot. The question just is why? Why not? Ben Bagbag was because of simpon. Rabbi Yehuda because of ula. And he disregards simpon based on the kavachaymer. We see that it's not a concern by shivcha. It's no concern here either. Uben Bagbag. Ben Bagbag responds to that kavachaymer. You can't prove anything from shivcha or from eved. Simpon is not a factor by avodim. You know why? Simpon by avodim less. He's no concern about simpon. What could he discover which will make him go back on the deal? And therefore, the fact that we're not concerned is not a raya to an isha where he's very particular and concerned. Look, simpon by avodim less. Ibu mishabagali, is it something that's in the open? Woman shabagalihu, an external wound, an external blemish. Okay, chazile. Well, the owner sees it, and if he's not concerned, then he's not concerned. Is it something which is concealed, some sort of blemish which he doesn't see? What does he care? It's just a maidservant, just a slave. He's just meant to work for him. Who cares how perfect his goof is? He doesn't really care. Nimtza ganav. Suppose he discovers that he's a thief or a kidnapper. Too bad. It's yours. Rashi says, Stam eved ganav. What else do you expect from an eved? My amr. So what other concern theoretically can there be? What's unpleasant surprises can there be waiting for him that perhaps will cause him to be mavatal the sale? List of Mizuyin. Turns out that he's an armed robber, or he was condemned to death by the authorities. Hanu kali islu. Well, everybody knows this is famous news. Everybody knows about this, and the fact that he still chose to purchase this eved in the case that he doesn't really care much. So bottom line is, there's no concern of simpon by the avodim, by the shvachas. Never been Bagbag disagrees with the whole notion, the whole basis for Rabbi Yehuda Kessler's kavachayim. Bottom line is, at the end of the day, everybody will not allow an arusa to have truma. The question is why? Is it because there's a concern that her engagement might break up, or because she might share with her relatives? Now, if she's not having truma, in any case, what's the difference if it's this reason or that reason? Can you give me a case where one reason applies and not the other? So actually we have three cases. That will be the nafkamina. Michti. Let's take a close look. Bein lamar, whether this shita or that shita, lo yachla. Anisha does not eat truma until she's married. My benau. So what's the difference? Is it whether it's because of a concern of sharing or concern of breaking up her engagement? The difference would be kibal. Suppose the chassan says, you know what, I'm a kabul. I find a mum, I'll be okay with it. So the simple concern doesn't apply, but Ula's concern that she might share with her siblings still applies. Or another example is Masar. The father handed her over to the shluchim of the Baal to take her to the husband, right, on the way to getting married. So at that point, there are no siblings around to share with, but there is a concern of simpon. Or another example, let's say the father actually went along with the shluchim of the husband, and they're en route, to their marriage. So once again, the simpan concern still applies, because he might discover something which he's unhappy with, but Ula's concern of sharing with relatives doesn't apply. Okay, bottom line is, we had two questions today. One is the Kiddushin of Bia. At what point does it take effect, the Tchila or the Seif? Conclusion was that it was the Seif. Can Bia create Nesuin as well? We actually weren't sure. We didn't really conclude on that. We tried a couple of times to have Rayas, which didn't really work out. And we actually veered into a whole discussion regarding an Arusa eating Truma. And we had two versions in this Brisa, whether it's a Machlekes, whether it's fully agreed upon that an Arusa Minatora has Truma, and the Rabbanah does not have Truma. For two possible concerns, two possible reasons, and we have three cases which would be off community between one reason and the other. Hatzlacha Rabbi to you, and all the best. I'm Surah Teves.